everybody, welcome to Barbecue Champs Academy live show tonight. We got a great show lined up with Mr. Lee Hickel, the 2019 IBCA points champion and the 2020 points champion runner-up. It's going to be a great show. We got a lot of things we're going to be talking about, all things barbecue tonight, and I'm looking forward to doing this show. And if you've got a lot of questions, anything relating to barbecue, you let us know. We'll certainly ask Lee and get his comments and thoughts on things as well. Certainly glad to have you here. We're going to give everybody just a few moments to come in. If you would, just give us a acknowledgement that you're here. Shoot us a comment. I see we've already got a couple of them. Scott, how are you doing, buddy? We always appreciate you being on our show, and we're hoping to have a pretty good show tonight. Last week's show was really great with Joey and his whole Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation. He did let all of us know last night that somebody had watched the show, and he got an email from them, and they said that they was going to donate 30 pellet cookers to the Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation. And he got confirmation that they were shipped out. So from the bottom of my heart, and I know his, thank you for all of those that watched our show last week, maybe shared it, got the word out. If you didn't get a chance to share our podcast last week as you're coming in tonight, and we'll talk about this here in just a little bit as well, please go back and share that podcast that we did last week with Joey. Like I said, we had somebody that watched the podcast here a couple days ago, and they reached out to Joey and donating 30 pellet cookers to him and his Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation. So absolutely wonderful thing happened there. We certainly do want to thank all of our partners that make this happen. Be Extreme Barbecue, Buddy Danny. I really appreciate all the product that you had. I used your sauce this weekend. Absolutely amazing sauce. Make sure you check out that. Our good friends at B&B Charcoal, absolutely love their lump. I use that all the time. Their char logs, their charcoal is part of my cooking process. And if you haven't picked any up, I know it's hard to find. I know Papa Joe Grilling Supplies, they have it. I know you can also order it at Ace Hardware. My good buddy Brian Crawford at Lone Star Barbecue Pro Shop and his Crawford barbecue rubs, or barbecue pit product rubs that he has, and his spritzes. Certainly do appreciate Brian. If you are looking for any kind of rub, Brian pretty much well has them all, and he has amazingly quick shipping. So check him out, LoneStarBarbecueProShop.com. My good friend Craig Sherry at Texas Pepper Jelly, all the fine products that he has. My good friend David with Gunnar Wilhine. Certainly appreciate these amazing knives that he's provided us with. Also, Tapaque, we are still working on trying to get them in here. I've just had so much stuff lined up. I need to kind of sit down, but man, I tell you what, for these instant read, or for these wireless thermometers that they have, absolutely wonderful. I think for all the barbecue guys, they've got fan assist to keep that fire lit. Absolutely awesome product, so make sure you check out Tapaque as well. And also our good friend Kale with Barbecue News Magazine. Absolutely awesome publication. Make sure you check them out. You can get a digital copy of that. I think it's either $15 or $25 for the digital copy for a year. I could be wrong on that, so don't hold me to it. But man, I know one thing. They put out a great magazine. We got folks steadily coming in. There's Mr. John Lindsay himself. Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Also, we got Miss Caitlin. Good to have you here with us. We've also got George with us. Frank, buddy, it was great meeting you this past weekend at the competition here in Blanchard, Louisiana. So good to meet you, and I appreciate everything that you do and supporting our Barbecue Champ steak cookers as well. There's Mr. Sean himself. Glad to have you here. We got Brandon with us. Papa Joe Grilling Supply. They're in the house. We got Hector's with us. We got Larry with us. I'm going to kind of rush through these because we got a lot of them in here before we get to lead. David, we appreciate you being on here all the way from Crossville, Tennessee. Mr. Ronald Burns, Mr. Hottie Toddy himself. Ronald, we do appreciate you being here. Certainly do love your show. I caught it last night. So good to have all those ladies that just absolutely tore everybody up this past weekend. And it was really good to watch y'all show last night. If y'all haven't checked out on Monday night, starting at 7:15, Ronald Burns and John Lindsay has a show that they put out, the Arcasippy Smoke Live Show, and it is a phenomenal show. They cover a lot of things with the SEA steak behind the scenes. They keep the temperature regular with that. They know exactly what's going on. and we appreciate those guys. We got Miss Megan with us. Great to have you here. Jim's with us tonight. Hey, buddy, you're not late. We just now getting started. We also have Glenn. Glad to have you here. Danny, great to have you here, brother. Your stuff is rocking. I used it again this weekend. Absolutely love it. You keep it up, man. Mr. John, thank you, sir, for this past weekend. I tell you what, you need to open up a restaurant, John, because the breakfast that you cook would put the Waffle House and the IHOP out of business. I'm telling you right now, absolutely amazing. He feeds us every time that we go to cook-offs. He cooks up some amazing food. So absolutely awesome. Appreciate what you do for us, brother. Matt Overson's in the house. Appreciate you being here. We got Mr. John in. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Had a good weekend this weekend. Had a good grand champion up here in my backyard in Blanchard, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. We did have a great time this weekend, and I think we're about ready. Got about everybody mentioned here. Got quite a few on our podcast tonight, but I don't want to tie up too much of Mr. Lee Hickel's time. We want to kind of jump right on to it, and let's get Mr. Lee Hickel in here. And if y'all have any questions, once again, please let us know. Frank, when is the new state cook for Barbecue Champs going to be announced? It's probably going to be another 2 weeks. We've got some maintenance that we're going to be doing to the website, big updates on it, and adding another layer of security to the website as well. And we want to make sure we're going to probably have to shut it down. We're thinking maybe Saturday for maintenance, just to make sure that everything gets implemented without any problems. So I do want to get that message out to everybody. If you do come to the website on Saturday and it's down for maintenance, we should have it up probably in 4 to 6 hours. We don't know how much these updates are going to affect everything. So once we get all the updates done, we got to go check all of our security, make sure all our security protocols are in, make sure all the pricing is done right. And then once we got all that done, we'll flip it back live again. So once we get past all that test, Frank, then we'll probably start working another week or so to get a new state cooker up. Brother Bill Manning, hey, brother, glad to have you with us here tonight. Sunday, not Saturday during a cook. Bill, get all your notes, man, because I don't know if we're going to be able to do it on Sunday or not. So anyway, just trying to get everything on that site to be as optimized as we can. So, well, without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, this man right here, Mr. Lee Hickel. Hey, Mr. Lee, how are you doing, sir?
What's going on, Mike, and the barbecue family?
Oh, man, I don't know, man. I'm having a pretty good week. What about you?
Well, Bill Manning stole my intro. I was going to say the exact same thing. Don't do it during a comp on your security updates. Do it on a Sunday. So, Bill, you and I are thinking the exact same thing.
Oh, goodness. Well, unfortunately, I got to go kind of when my webmaster can get everything done. And I was trying to get it done on a Friday, and he said, this is a really big update with a lot of security stuff that we're putting in on the site. And he said, I don't think I will be able to do it on a Friday. I just rather do it on a Saturday. And we was trying to do it later, like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But he said this could be a 6 to 8 hour update, as we're updating a lot of stuff on the website. And
just pay him overtime after 5 o'clock.
That's what I'm thinking. So anyway,
yes,
well, how you been doing, Lee?
I'm doing good, Mike. A little rusty in the barbecue competition world, but things are slowly getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. I cooked a real good cook-off this weekend. I didn't do very good, but hey, I tried.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's talk a little bit about the cook-offs. We kind of wanted to kind of go through some of the cook-offs. First, the big one that was down in Wharton at the Trailer Place cook-off that they had this past weekend, 141 teams down there, and we certainly got to give a huge shout-out to Hector Cantu for winning that event. Absolutely awesome job, Hector. And our good buddy Phil Breeden came in second, got reserve grand champion, 141 cooks. And I'm telling you right now, that's a heck of a cook-off right there. And I know Hector was probably super excited to get a hold of that trailer that he won. So
tell you what, Hector is a hard guy to cook against. He doesn't cook a whole lot, but when he cooks, man, he brings it full force.
When he comes,
love him to death. I love Hector to death.
Yeah. And then they had the big cook-off down in your area at Beesville. And
They did in Beeville. Yep, 53
Beeville.
teams. Yeah,
Yep,
Beeville. 53 teams
50,
came.
Yep, 53 teams down there. Rene Gonzalez won that one, kind of won that one going away. He had a really, really good cook-off. Eddie Morales got reserve grand champion. So certainly congratulations to those two as well. And I know you was trying to knock the rust off. I don't think you have cooked an IBCA competition in.
It's been a while.
I don't know when.
It's been a while.
So
I tell you, Renee really knocked it out of the park. I think he had 26 points.
Yep.
Out of 30 for IBCA, and the next, what do you have? 15-point difference.
I think
whatever it was,
25 and 15. I think was what the two. Let's see what he had. He had 25 points. And Eddie had 15 points. So, yeah, he absolutely knocked it out the park.
Nailed it.
So,
and I wasn't even gonna cook. All of my meats in my freezer are for KCBS. We'll talk about that. I kind of transitioned over to KCBS, and
we'll talk about that here in just a second. So,
good old Philip Breeden called me at 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday and said if I'm going to cook anywhere, and I said no, I'm not going to cook anywhere, not till Humble, end of January. Right. And of course, Phil being Phil, he went to chewing my butt and calling me names. And, I said, I can't. I've got my rig up in Waco. I'm having the bat wings put on the porch so I can enclose it.
Right.
And I'm talking my rubs, my scales, my ingredients, my shakers, knives. Everything I have is in my porch trailer. I have nothing. I don't have anything here. And, of course, he said, quit making excuses. Go get that pit you have in your pasture. So I did. I mean, I had two feet of grass all the way around it, and I backed up, put my truck in four-wheel drive, backed up to it, brought it to my house, and WD-40 the hinges just to get the rust off of it. Yeah. Oh my Lord, Yeah. Yeah. And it had dirt dauber nests. It was a mess. I felt real bad for it. I love that pit because that's where I cut my teeth on, the pit by JJ. Either way, tuning plates were all stuck on the inside. I had to get a hammer and bust those loose. I literally had a half a gallon of rust from the firebox to my cooking chamber. You talking about really feeling bad, right, for this pit? Because this pit, I mean, it's a nice pit.
Right.
I just neglected it.
Put it out in the pasture. Yep.
Out in the pasture, I called real good buddy Chris Davis, Crossfire Rifle Barbecue Team, whatever. I said, hey, I need some Cosmo products. He works at Brian Crawford's store, Lone Star Barbecue. I said, just throw something together, Cosmo stuff, whatever you can. I want to focus on chicken. The brisket and ribs. Look, it's a 4-pound KCBS flat, right? There's no fat on it. I mean, it's literally not even 8.5 by 11. It's a little bitty flat piece of brisket.
Right.
And that's all I had. I didn't have anything else to cook with. I actually had chicken and ribs in the freezer from last February, maybe March, right? Because every 2 weeks I buy my competition meat from Andy Lugo, and I bought all the meat in February, and then Corona kind of came around in March and shut things down for a while. And then when it came time to kick back up again, I bought fresh meat from Andy.
Right.
So being this cook-off this past weekend, I just said, what the hell, So I got the 11-month-old chicken and ribs from the freezer and a 4-pound flat.
Yeah, and rolled out.
But lo and behold, I knocked out a 5th place chicken.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's
final table ribs and nothing on brisket.
Yeah, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And we had another good cook-off this weekend here in my backyard in Blanchard, Louisiana, and I certainly want to give a huge shout out to all those that cooked there. We had a lot of our barbecue family we hadn't got a chance to see in a while. Big shout out to my good friend Gray Cartwright. He lives here in Shreveport. He got reserve grand champion. I was so happy for him. And Shauna Rapolo cooked the steak on Saturday night, hit her first place in steak. And
got her golden ticket.
Got her golden ticket right off the get-go. I tell you what, this past weekend, I mean, the girls just dominated. I think they won all 4 of the SCA state competitions. Shauna won Friday night. They had a doubleheader over in Liberty. Both girls won that, and I think there was a female won the Alabama State Championship.
He did.
I think. And so it was a big weekend for the girls. I think that's the first time that had ever happened. And so we had a great time here in our backyard.
Well, who won the cook-off you were at?
Well, I wasn't going to really say a whole lot about that, but I actually grand championed the cook-off here in Blanchard. So I
Congratulations.
appreciate it. I had a real good cook. I was very happy with the food that I turned in. I went back to, I have not budged from my brisket recipe, and ever since I've been cooking this same brisket recipe for ever since I started in 2014. I made a slight little tweak to it at the end of 2017, and in 2018, I made a slight little tweak to it. It was just so strong. It's been strong ever since I did that, and I've been working on a new rib recipe that's been doing very good last year. But I've tried a few things in chicken, and chicken just seems like it's all over the place. And I just decided, you know what? I went back and looked. I keep notes. And pro tip, best pro tip I can give. I keep notes of every single cook-off that I've ever done. That was my 89th cook-off that I did Blanchard this weekend. And I keep records of every single thing, how I cook, the whole 9 yards. And I went back on Thursday before I was getting ready to prep up my chicken. I was like, what am I going to cook? Am I going to cook the same thing I've been trying? I've been kind of inconsistent. It would hit and then it wouldn't. It would hit and then it wouldn't. It's just like, man, where's that solid consistency? So I went back to my 2018 recipe that I cooked. In 2018, we did 13 competitions. I had 12 out of 13 top 10 finishes in brisket, ribs, and chicken that year. And I told Suzette, I said, I'm going to roll back with that 2018 chicken. It was the most consistent chicken I had. I cooked it for the first 3 or 4 cook-offs in 2019, and then I started trying something new. Just don't know why, just I wanted to try something different. And, I hit a 7th place chicken with it this weekend right out the gate, and had a 5th place brisket, a 3rd place rib. And
Nice.
so I would just tell people, keep notes of what you've done. Be consistent, because that is won me more competitions than anything that I can ever think of. And I think that's the thing, is being consistent, and I know I watched how you was when we filmed your class, and you was like precise. Everything has to be done. Everything is done at a certain time. It's a
Has to be.
spray. It's a flip. It's a rotate. It's a flip. Timer's going off every 30 minutes.
That's
And
right.
that's one thing, Lee, that I've watched your class, when we filmed your class, that I noticed about you, that you kind of have that mentality like what I had going into it when I first started. My stuff came like that from my drag racing stuff. Everything that we did was every race across the country, we had a log sheet. Here's the setup on the chassis, the setup on the clutch, the tune-up that we had, where the weight bars was in the car, the whole 9 yards. So I was just natural. That was natural for me. You had to keep notes for when you went to a certain track. You knew the setup that you wanted to put on that track to give you a baseline to go make your first qualifying run. And I've noticed that about you. You was just very, very detailed on everything that you did. And I think that's one of the things that makes you such an amazing cook. I mean, let's face it, you've got the credentials of coming right out your very first full year. There it is, 2019 IBCA points champion. And then you come right back around last year on a limited number of cook-offs that you only got to
Right.
do, 18, 19 cook-offs.
Right.
And they took your top 12 and you finished number 2, man, hats off to you. And that's amazing that you was able to go out and do that when a lot of these teams had 30, 40 cook-offs and you had 18, 19 cook-offs and was able to climb the ladder like that.
Yeah, getting down, the last 5 weeks of the cook-off, I don't even know if I was top 10. I was
Nah,
pretty
you
close if
wasn't.
I was.
Yeah, you was 13,
And
14. You was way down the line.
and there's only a month and a half left of cooking, or whatever it was, 5, 6
Right.
weeks when they reopened it. So I knew I had to buckle down. So looked at my notes, went back to what I do, and I came out and did pretty good. I was
Yeah.
real happy. Knocked out a couple grands, a couple reserves,
Yeah.
and it bumped me up to 2nd place out of nowhere. So
Right.
I was blessed with the opportunity to see what I can do, and I came back and got reserve for
Yeah.
2nd place.
He's got 2nd
But
place.
Phil Breeden, he's a hell of a cook. A
Woo,
couple years
yeah.
in a row, he finished 4th place like 2 or 3 years in a row, and then
Right.
he was determined he's going to knock it out of the park and take first. And hats off to Phil. I mean, he has great product,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he knows how to use it. And I mean, we're all proud of Phil.
Oh,
You
I'm
know, I
telling you
mean,
right
I
now.
love him to death.
Yeah, you won't find a finer guy on the barbecue circuit than Philip Breeden. I mean, he came over to me. We was down in Viter, and he came up to me and just made it a point, come over there and talk to me and just see how I was doing. And I tell you what, he's just definitely a great guy, and he is one heck of a cook everywhere he goes. Look at this weekend, down in Wharton, 141 teams. He finished his second place, so gets reserve grand champion. So he's a great cook. He is definitely a great cook.
And
So
I'll throw it out there. I use his products,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, a lot of people do.
I think if you want to win, you have to use part of Lucky Charms products. You know,
Yeah,
there's in my opinion, with
you
my profile anyway.
right. There's a lot of people that use it, and you can. It's diverse. I mean, he's got a little bit for everybody, and you can
Thank you,
find
Juan.
something to use it.
That Juan Manuel man, he's from the valley,
Uh
and
huh.
he struggled and struggled and struggled in chicken. He's a up and coming cook,
Right.
and I appreciate the comments, Manuel. And just a little bit, you know, he's a lovable guy. He's approachable, and I just gave him a little bit of tips and pointers on what I would do to help adjust the chicken. And
Right.
I'll be darned, man. Whenever he goes cook, he's just killing people in the valley on his chicken.
Yeah.
He is ripping people up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this weekend at the cook off, the neighbor right beside me, he was asking me about chicken questions, and I was kind of giving him pointers on temping and where to temp, how to temp, the probes. I gave him the injection. I gave him foul play, you
Right.
know, to use for part of the injection, and I gave him some ingredients, and he started telling me there about the chicken window, how he always temps the breast to 157 degrees. I'm like, why in the hell would you do that? That's not how I would do it. I recommend doing this in the thigh.
Right.
And he's like, is it too soon? I'm like, yeah, it's too soon. So what that knucklehead ended up doing? He got first place chicken. I gave him
uh,
everything he needed, and I got a fifth. He got a first. You know,
oh,
but
that's
hey,
hilarious.
hats off to him. You know, I
Yep.
helped him spat. I don't like to spatchcock, but I did
Right.
spatchcock my chicken, and he had three chickens, and two of them were no good, and the last one was a great chicken. I
Yep.
said, hey, spatchcock it, and he's
Yeah.
never cooked a spatchcock before either, and
Right.
I
Right.
gave him some injection points and whatnot, and damn, he got a first place chicken.
Yep.
53 teams.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Hey, if anybody's got any questions for Lee, let us know. That's what we're here for. We want to try to answer a lot of these questions. Yes, Philip Breeden is great. We carry all his product. You absolutely have to. I think if you got a barbecue store in Texas and you don't have Lee's product, you're missing out on
Phillips,
a lot of sales.
yeah,
So
on Phillips products. Yep.
yeah. So Brian says you are a barbecue god.
No, I
Oh,
haven't. I haven't achieved that level, you know. But God did bless me, and you
yeah.
know, but it's not just me, right? I mean, it's obvious, guys. I had to take classes also. I
Right.
just can't. I just can't learn this overnight. And again, I still give all the hats off to a few people who are dear to me in the barbecue world. One is going to be Matias Serrata, Fred
Mm-hmm.
Robles, Hector and Roel Villanueva. They're pops.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Flores from Family Grillers. You know, those guys are what guided me in the right direction on my first cook off. I didn't know. Well, I didn't meet Fred till later on, but the
Right.
guys I just mentioned, you know, we were in Robstown, Texas, and I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was the king of the world until I let them sample my food. But I was in the spot right next to them, and I didn't even know there was a pro circuit. I didn't know
Right.
there was even a circuit on barbecue. I was so new and green, but they kind
Right.
of guided me. They put tears in my eyes saying my food sucked, but in a real nice way.
Right. Right.
So, but really, I give all the glory to God and those guys for getting me hooked in this crazy expensive hobby.
Yeah.
Um, but then I wanted to be better and improve myself. So I did. I took classes because I don't know what the pros are doing, what the good guys are doing. You want to associate yourself
Yeah.
with good people who are making good decisions. Keep in mind, I mean, I was drinking beer. I was cooking 2 or 3 briskets, 4 or 5 chickens, 6, 7 racks of ribs, cut everything up, piecemeal what you can for a box, forget the
Yep.
foil. I mean, I was so new. And then I see these guys and they're really going to bed early. They're focusing, they're paying attention. And here I am spending $400 or $500 every weekend and I'm going home with a headache
Right.
and nothing to show for it. and these guys are always up on stage taking home the money. I'm like, you know what? I want to associate myself with them. I want to be their friend. I want to know what they did.
Right.
So I stopped the Friday night shenanigans for the most part. And I buckled down, and I wanted to be a winner. So I did take classes. Matter of fact, today I took I've already paid for John Lindsay's state class, but I wanted a refresher for this coming weekend. So today I watched John Lindsay's state class all over again. So that's why I hope you don't do your maintenance until Sunday, because that would have kicked my butt if I log on there Saturday and I can't look at what to do for John Lindsay's steak.
Watch it. That's all I can tell you. Just keep watching. Brandon wants to know: do you plan on start cooking any SCA state competitions, or you gonna stick to barbecue, aren't you?
So I had whenever barbecue shut down, I'd really thought about doing SCA.
Right.
And at that time, there really still isn't too close to home any SCA cook-offs.
Right.
But then for some ungodforsaken reason, KCBS came to play. So I guess I'd rather drive 18 to 21 hours to get to a cook-off than drive 8 or 9 for an SCA. So I kind of got the nibble. You know, in 2019 was my second year to cook the American Royal. I qualified for it, and almost 500 teams, and I hit a 5th place pork.
Right.
And Texas guys came through at the American Royal in 2019, and that really kind of got me pumped up to do KCBS. And then, of course, later on, let's fast forward to March. The Corona came around, and everything was shut down. And so they reopened IBCA, finished IBCA. Then I jumped into KCBS. You know, driving, we really are. I mean, we're going to Oklahoma City. We're going to Kansas City. We're going to Missouri. We're going to Florida. We're going to Georgia. We're going to Mississippi. You know, Aaron, Leslie, Bill Purvis, and Fred Robles. I didn't get signed in time. They went up to like the Cheyenne or Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Well, I boogied on over to Florida.
Right.
But let me tell you, I mean, honestly, it's expensive to do KCBS.
Yeah.
Because you're doing a 4th meat, and that 4th meat consists of pork, and you have 3 to 4 pork butts that you're going to cook. And that means more injection, right? More rub, more product.
Yeah.
And so it's more expensive. And for us South Texas guys, I mean, I'm a few hours from Mexico. I'm south of Houston and San Antonio.
Right.
It's a long drive. We're going to drive. I mean, Fred Robles easily, he's 3 hours past me. So he's driving even further. And getting 6 miles per gallon pulling the barbecue rig.
Yeah.
This is when you really need to focus, do your cook, what you've learned, what you practice, and go set forth. Hey, starting off, Mike, I wasn't doing good. I was looking at some of my data.com stats, and up in Oklahoma, there was 37 teams, and I finished 33rd. You know, I got my butt handed to me.
Right.
And the next week was in Florida. And I told myself, if I had Florida, Georgia, and another Gulf Coast cook-off, and I told myself, Columbus, Mississippi. Now, I told myself, if I really can't, I'm going to travel this distance, 6 miles per gallon. You know, it's taken 4 tank loads to get anywhere. And then the entry fee and the meat, I mean, you're spending $700-800 for a cook-off. And if I can't do well, I'm going to just have to go back over to stay local, maybe IBCA, SCA, BCA, something. Right. Well, dang it, if I didn't hit off a 180 in Georgia on a pork call.
Right.
Matter of fact, Fred got a 180 and Bill Purvis got a 180 while we were there in Georgia at the Papa Joe Banjo Q.
Right.
So I'm like, well, crap. I want enough money to go ahead and, all right, let me stay in this KCBS ball game. Then I cooked Bonifay, Florida. Got a 180 on my ribs. No, I'm sorry, I'm lying. I got a 1st place on my ribs. I beat Myron Mixon. He had an 18th pork butt. I had a 15th. He had a 2nd rib. I had a 1st place rib. I'm like, if I can beat Myron Mixon, all right, this KCBS, here I am again.
Yep,
keep on trying. Then I did Columbus, Mississippi, Fred, Bill, and I. You know, lo and behold, I think Bill Purvis reserve Brad from getting basted, granded it,
Right.
and I hit a first place on the pork. So there's something that actually is just keeping me in this KCBS. Just when I think I have doubts,
Right.
but I go and I put my best foot forward and I cook my cook, review all my notes, and it's keeping me in there.
Right.
So
It's a learning process. It's definitely different. I know than IBCA and BCA what we're used to. So
100%. And what's funny is I'm cooking the exact same pork recipe and my rib recipe as my class or IBCA in KCBS.
yeah.
I'm running the exact same recipe, and it's doing well. So I did
Right.
have to modify because in chicken I'm using chicken thighs,
Right.
not half chicken. So I had to modify my chicken a little bit, and I tried running my IBCA chicken recipe, and it just wasn't hitting in KCBS.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really excited because I took Matt Walker's class about a month and a half ago out in Lubbock, Texas, Boomerang Barbecue, and we all know Matt Walker is just a killer on the KCBS trail. So I haven't cooked his recipes yet, but I'm gonna do it in Humble. I'm gonna see if the Humble KCBS group likes it, and I'll tell you now, flat out, I'm gonna run Matt Walker's 100% KCBS recipe, all four meats, just to see
how it runs compared to
because I have the Humble cook off in January 30th. The very next weekend, I'll be in Georgia, cooking Georgia, and then I'm going to drive to Raleigh, leave my truck and rig in Raleigh, fly home, wait a week, then go back. Then I'm going to cook Myrtle Beach. Then I'm going to do a doubleheader in Raleigh, North Carolina. The following weekend, I want to fly home, go back, do another Myrtle Beach, and then do Georgia, and then I'm going to come home. So I have 7 cook-offs in a month and a half on the East Coast.
Wow. Damn. Now, this guy is dedicated to cooking. I mean, that's the one thing about you. He told me what he was going to do, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to everybody a little bit about. Lee's not going to be making a big run for IBCA points chases this year. He'll do some, maybe, but he's mainly going to concentrate on KCBS and jump in there. And he's not a KCBS cooker. He's trying to learn it. That's why he took Matt's class. And that's what I'm saying. I think I heard Fred Robles say it. If you're not always learning in barbecue, you're not growing. And,
that's right.
And there's nothing wrong with taking classes. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, look at the people that have taken our steak classes and our barbecue classes, especially our steak cookers. I mean, they're out there crushing it. And they've taken 2-3 years off of their learning curve of what they've been able to learn and going out and just absolutely killing it. Jana Mays is back-to-back first place wins, and she's taken, I think, 2 or 3. I think she's taken 3 of our state classes, and she's getting the best of all of this stuff. And I just think sometimes that's the thing, you have to be dedicated. Here's Caitlin right there. You have to be dedicated to what you're doing, and you have to go out and put your best foot forward. And that's what you're talking about. But it is a different arena than what we're in. And it's funny, I remember we was talking a little bit, well, I've got to try this and I've got to try that and I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that. And you wasn't doing good. And, I was like, good barbecue is good barbecue. And I just always say that. And even though KCBS are certified judges, it's still got to be good barbecue. And you said, I'm going to start running my stuff that I did in my class. Just like that. But same stuff I've been doing. Yep. And you hit that first place in Florida, and I was like, what did you do? And he said, I cooked my freaking rib that I cook in IBCA every stinking weekend, and I got a first place. And I said, good barbecue is good barbecue. I mean, you may be trying Matt's classes, but I guarantee you, I bet you Lee Hickel stuff would still run with any of them because it has proven itself, especially in Texas, especially in South Texas, down there by that area, because you've done very well down there. So...
Right.
I know it's hard because you get too much information. Sometimes you're like, I just want to try it. How good will it be? So
you have to, I think my ribs and pork are hitting real well
now. And your brisket is the bomb. I'll just tell you, you've got an amazing brisket.
I just don't cook a 4-pound flat for IBCA when it's a KCBS brisket. Right. That's a lesson I learned this weekend. But I love Matt and Sarah Walker, and I'm just gonna why not? I invested the time, I invested the money.
Right.
Um, but don't get me wrong. I'm just not going to go cook a recipe. I still have to cook it. I still have to know the pit, which I do. But you know, some guys go out there and just take classes just to learn recipes, and then they get discouraged or upset because it didn't work for them. Well, that's not really everything into it. You have to use some of your common sense, some of your basic knowledge, and remember what you've learned from your class and use it. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you take a class or learn a pro tip and it doesn't work for you, well, you know what? It might the next time or time after. I think it was Bill Purvis told me, talking to Brad from Getting Basted, him and Matt, they kind of have their statistics figured out on how many cooks they have to cook to either grand or reserve grand. And Bill, if you're watching, I don't know, but you can correct me. But I think they're at like 30% of their cook-offs are going to either come in first or second. So let's just say they have to cook 10 cook-offs to get a grand or reserve, basically.
Right.
So they already know that going into it. So if KCBS is taking their best 10, well, they're going to have to cook at least 30 cook-offs.
Right.
In theory, right, to do that.
Right.
So you can't be discouraged. Yeah, I get a little heartbroken if I don't place real well in a meet that you feel like you did real well. You wouldn't change anything. And so after you get your butt kicked at the cook-off, you make a phone call to your barbecue buddies. And, Phil Breeden is the best one, man. I love Bill Purvis and Phil Breeden. Phil Breeden's like, don't go chasing ghosts. If you have a bad cook-off, don't go changing your recipe.
That's right.
Because it's consistent. It works.
Yep.
The next weekend you have a bad cook, don't change it. He calls it don't go chasing ghosts.
That's it.
So that's one good thing about the barbecue family is there's a lot of encouraging friends out there. Again, meet up with the right people, those who do well. I'll be happy to ask like this weekend, there was a guy I've never met before. He was from West Texas. He was kind of hanging around Chris Davis and all that. And Chris knows a lot of my ingredients. And I messed up on my brisket au jus. I didn't even have a camber. I had no camber. I had nothing. I borrowed Chris Davis's knives. I borrowed everything, all the utensils. I did have some Cosmo cutting board. That's all I had, basically. And my tailgate of my pickup truck. I didn't have anything. And but I did have this one little, a couple of my ingredients, because I have it kind of specially made for me. And when all my au jus burnt out, I had it in my warmer of my pit by JJ. I've got a vertical smoker. Well, I thought all my gauges were broken on my pit. None of them working right. So Chris actually gave me a little DigiQ to make sure I'm cooking the pit right. That was 125 degrees hotter than what my gauges were. Well, I didn't know this until halfway through the cook.
Right.
I never once looked at my brisket pan. There was zero au jus in my pan.
Ooh, good.
Right, no au jus. So I had to make an au jus at the end, and I'm like, crap, I don't have
nothing
certain beef flavored. And Chris is like, well, I know you got this product, right? I'm like, I do. So I mixed it up with that guy from West Texas. I put it back in my little bucket, my little carrying bucket with my little ingredients. And he walked over to my little Tupperware container. I said, you can't look in that Tupperware container. And he goes, why not? I said, well, I just met you and you haven't earned the right to go look in my stuff yet.
Yeah.
I mean, right, pretty much,
right.
There's limits you can do, but just teamwork and friendship. Say we're a barbecue family, and actually we love everybody out there. It was great to see these faces of people we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So, since I had my ribs and my brisket in my vertical smoker, and they were actually resting at 185 degrees, come to find out.
Wow.
That's how hot my smoker was. Ooh. And I thought it was around 80.
Wow.
In there. No, it was 185, my smoker. Wow. So that's why it burned up.
Kind of dried everything out. Well,
100%. Lessons learned, That was my fault. I mean, rookie mistake.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's Phil's fault for gouging you into it. Phil
owes me my entry fee. He owes me.
He does.
No, but you know what? It feels right. If we're sitting at home and there's cook-off going on, it's only a half hour from my house.
Yeah.
Just Ari Segovia sums it up just right. Make it work.
Make
What
it
you
work.
have, make
Yeah.
it work. And go cook, see your friends,
Oh yeah,
socialize.
absolutely. I mean, to me, that's it. I mean, I have so much fun getting out with all our barbecue brothers and stuff, and sisters. I mean, there's some good female cooks out there as well, and it's just fun. I mean, getting together like this on Tuesday night so we can all get together and chat and ask questions and stuff. Like, to me, this, I mean, COVID's messed everything up enough for us. So at least let's do this where we can all get together, ask some questions, hear what you have to say. I mean, see what other people are talking about, and that's what makes barbecue fun, right? So
That's it. Hey,
go
Roger
cook.
Hernandez. Roger Hernandez has the best voice that you will ever hear in your entire life. If you ever want a voiceover for a commercial or a radio ad, whatever, Roger is the man. He has a
Roger's the
perfect
man.
radio voice. Oh,
There
big
you go.
time. Yeah, it
How
was good
about
seeing
that?
him too.
That's
Yeah,
good.
he had a walk and his wife had a walk too this weekend in the ancillary. So
Right.
they did.
Right.
Oh, actually, he got final table, I should say.
Right.
But yeah, it was a real good seeing everybody out there.
No, Brian, he will not be at Hold'em and Hit'em, so can't get in. It's booked up. So I was trying to get in to go down there, and it's booked. I'm on the waiting list, but I've got so much going on now. I know somebody had asked earlier, when's our next state class coming? I forgot who asked. It's probably going to be another couple weeks before we get our next state class. I would say probably maybe the first week in February. We've got a new state class that's coming out. We also have a new barbecue class. Hopefully to have it out next week. Been sitting on this one for a while, going through all the edits and stuff, getting all the information in, and making sure that Brian Crawford's going to have a lot of the product and stuff that we're going to be using for that. I think he's got most everything there, so we always try to make sure that we can direct them to Brian. And so yeah, we got a very, very, very good barbecue cook coming out. Hopefully next week, and then probably the first weekend in February, we have a new state cook coming, and then in March, looks like we have a whole new dynamic that we're going to be adding to Barbecue Champs Academy, a whole new side of it, and we are very, very excited about expanding this out to the next level. So, and we're hoping to have that out sometimes in mid-March is kind of the game plan. So.
Yeah, Brian, I think they capped it at 100 teams. The Holden hit them. They're cooking in New Caney. It's a new location from Pasadena. We'll say 2 years ago, 2019, my first time ever cooking Holden hit them, 125 teams, roughly. That's when Sean Larkin and Seth Rogg, the underwear gang, they GC'd it. Mm-hmm. And chicken turn in. I mean, I've always cooked the same chicken. Chicken cook. And it was like 20 minutes till 12. My chicken was raw, so I bumped my chicken cooker up to 500 degrees. And it just fried all the skin off the chicken, glazed it, turned it in, and they're calling the awards for chicken, and they get down to first place. And heck, it was my ticket. There's no way my chicken, I thought by appearance, would have hit anywhere in the top 50, but it hit first place. So hot and fast. That's what I'm doing now. Whenever I cook IBCA, 2019, I babysat my chicken. I wanted the appearance to be perfect. 300 degrees, 45 minutes, rotate, spritz, keep it beautiful. And then the 2020 cooking season, I just wanted to prove myself. Can I cook it at 500 degrees, less than 30 minutes, and turn in and walk? And now you can. You sure can. Right. I may kick myself in the butt for saying this, but I think I can turn in skinless chicken from burning it off completely to no skin. It starts off with skin, but I know a lot of times I burned all the skin off. I've had to re-rub it, just to put some type of protective back on the skin. Burn it off, put a little bit of rub on it to protect it, and duck fat, whatever it takes. And turn it in and keep a moist chicken.
Right.
So, but that was my first experience at the Holden hit 'em in 2019 to accelerate my cooking temperature to over 500 degrees and hit a first place chicken.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it, but that's what I did.
And I know you've been doing that a lot here lately. So I know you told
I
me
have
I cooked that chicken in 18 minutes. I was like,
thir-
you did what?
13-minute chicken from
13-minute
13
chicken.
minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, dang, Lee, you
Yep.
have lost it, man. So,
Yep. Chris Davis was there beside me. Yep. 13-minute
yeah,
chicken from
yeah.
raw to done turned in.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane that you did that. So, oh goodness gracious. Well, I mean, to me, that's the difference. I mean, you went from cooking absolutely gorgeous, beautiful chickens. I know the ones that you cooked in your class was probably the two of the most pristine looking chickens,
Right.
and then you changed, and now you're burning them up and you're cooking
Well,
them fast, and
I just it's
you
all
know, I
about
mean,
learning. Can you do it?
yeah,
I mean, Road Crew Barbecue, which is Gary Kelly from Sinton, Texas. He would turn in the ugliest chicken and whoop everybody's butt. I
mm-hmm,
mean, it looked like you dipped it in hot asphalt, and he would win. And I'm like, I don't know how that's working. So I didn't have the guts to do it until 2020 cooking year, and I
mm-hmm,
wanted to experiment. And nah, he's on to something. He
mm-hmm,
sure is. So that's kind of how I run it. This weekend I didn't do it. This weekend I babysat my chicken, and I had a real pretty chicken that I turned
right,
in.
right,
So, but I'm happy with it. But transitioning from IBCA to KCBS and coming back to an IBCA, whenever Bill and I were starting off on this adventure to go into KCBS, Fred did tell us, he says, believe it or not, going from IBCA to KCBS and then going back to an IBCA cook-off, it throws your entire game off.
right,
And I didn't understand how, because of an hour and a half in between turn-ins, you have plenty of time to go to sleep in between turn-ins and wake back up and work on your food. And I didn't understand what Fred meant. Why? How can that throw your game off? I was pretty successful in IBCA. I transitioned to KCBS. I've done, I think, I don't know, 10, 12, whatever KCBS cook-offs. Fred nailed it on the head. It does throw your game off. You're
right.
going to full chickens. You're going to different tenderness level. And this weekend, I really understood what he meant by how it throws your game off. I mean, I was really out of my game anyway with a different
Right.
pit and nothing to use, but I was out of sync.
Right.
So um, I do feel that it was easier for me to transition from IBCA to KCBS, but it is a little difficult to go back to IBCA after
Mm-hmm.
cooking KCBS.
Yeah.
But it's a learning curve, and my brain is always going. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but but I got to be moving. I got to think about it,
Right.
and so I'm just honored that I've had a good network of barbecue family to put me under their wing and teach me to where I am today.
Right. Right.
Again, without those guys who I mentioned before, there's no way I would have been here.
Yeah.
They're the best. They're the best out there on the circuit.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing what we got. We got a lot of good barbecue family. There's no doubt, and there's just so much fun to be around and everything else. And I think that's the biggest joy that I get is being able to go to a barbecue competition on a Friday. I try to get there either Thursday afternoon or Friday, meeting, visiting with everybody, talking to them. And to me, I just have so much fun doing that. And I'm in bed at 9 o'clock. I'm there to cook, and get up the next
yeah,
morning and get ready and do my thing. So,
that's something too. Like 11 o'clock is whenever so before I go to bed, I put all my charcoal in about 4 or 5 logs in my firebox. My firebox it's insulated. It's a Sniper Magnum from Pitmaker, and I take those little wax cubes and I throw them in my firebox, and I go to bed. So when I wake up at 4 o'clock, my pit's already at 300 degrees.
right.
Right. And especially being wintertime, it's really crucial for me to do that, to pre-warm my pit, because I put about 4 gallons of water in the water pan in the pit. And I don't want to take my pear burner when I wake up and go out there and get my pit hot then.
Right.
That takes away, 1, from my sleep, and 2, it takes away from getting my meat rubbed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny too, because Matt Barber, He's a KCBS cook. I think he's a hot Wachula.
Right.
He's got his own rubs and whatnot. And he was right beside me in Bonifay, Florida. And I like to let my brisket and ribs rest 2 hours or longer.
Right.
Right. So I'm running almost the same timeline. Well, 4 o'clock, my brisket goes on. 4:45, my ribs go on for KCBS. There's nobody else awake because a lot of KCBS guys are cooking on trash cans, the drums, and they don't really start their fire until a little bit later. So by 10 o'clock, my ribs are in the Cambro, and I'm right beside Matt Barber. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My ribs are done. They're going to the Cambro." He's like, "My ribs aren't even wrapped yet."
That is hilarious.
You know?
Yeah.
I said, "Well, my ribs are done." Well, then that's when I got a first place rib.
Right.
So, and he said maybe he should do like a 3-hour rib rest. But, but to meet these guys who you see on television who have all these big rubs, their big sauces, these names you hear about, I had the honor of meeting Jeff Coles, from Bee's Knees in Columbus, Mississippi. And unfortunately, he lost his life a few weeks ago to COVID. He was in the hospital for a while. Yeah. And Jeff Coles, if you watch him on, now I just drew a blank. Oh, what's that series they have? The Atlanta Barbecue. Oh, well, I'll think of it.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
BBQ.
Yep.
BBQ, yeah. So if you go on, either it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, and go on BBQ, those are good series to watch for barbecue. It just kind of keeps up with all those guys. A series of barbecue, and just to meet and see all these guys. But remember Jeff Coles and his team, Bee's Knees. It's very tough, and we've lost a lot of barbecue family because of this Corona.
Right.
When this Corona first happened, March was when it really went into effect.
Right.
We didn't know.
Yeah, nobody knew how bad it was going to be. That's for sure.
Is it a flu? Is it real? What does it affect? And I was kind of a doubter, but after personally seeing family members pass away from it, and what this virus is doing, so let's just pray these doctors and scientists do have the fix-all cure for everybody, so we can all continue with seeing our families every week and our barbecue brethren.
Oh,
not to get up on a sad tangent, but these are real times, so it's changed everything that we do in barbecue.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, the whole dynamic of us, what we're doing and stuff like that, and just like the hold 'em and hit 'em, they're capping all these things at lower numbers, and usually that event's going to have 125, 130, and they're having to make adjustments and stuff to where we can only have so many teams in. And I don't know. To me, it's so sad to see all this stuff. Yeah, it is real. It affects certain people certain ways. I know a lot of people that's had it, and they just have very little symptoms. I know some people that's had it has passed away from it, and so if you've got any underlying conditions, it's pretty rough on you. And I'm hoping. Glenn, can you hear me better now? I don't know why my mic was running low, but I have bumped my volume up, so hopefully everybody can hear me just a little bit better. So, but it is rough, and I'm glad at least now that we do have competitions that are open, and hopefully more and more competitions are going to continue to open as we get more into our full swing of everything. A lot of times January and February, there's not a whole lot of competitions that's open anyway, so. It seems like most of them have done good. We got more competitions. There's still some that I'm looking at, and that normally is on our schedule already, and we haven't seen them. The big one that we have in Terrell, Texas, the Terrell Jubilee, it's usually already on the schedule by now, and it's not. So they're usually, I think last year there were 73 teams there last year, and I don't know. It's just it's a lot of fun getting with everybody, and I hope everybody's going to get opened up. Scott brings up a good point. Hey, have an upside. I got to spend more time with family and practice for my first KCBS event and competing in my first SCA event. So
That's true.
it is good there, and we have got a chance to spend more time with our family, and that part is good.
Yeah, but
So
COVID was not good to me. I went from 175 to 195, so
yeah,
I gained 20 pounds. So I
yeah,
need to work on
yeah.
that. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
I think all of us have probably put on a little weight sitting at home so much,
You
but
bet. Well,
there. Go ahead.
let's go to we'll go back to barbecue and get off
Yep,
this sad note.
yep.
So between IBCA and KCBS, I'll just tell you, I still run Vaughn Wood, Justin Vaughn up there.
Uh huh.
I love his wood. I've used Vaughn Wood almost since day one. Justin has a great product. I do use pecan. I use the backyard with bark. I tried running barkless pecan and I wasn't getting the same results. I know there's Western out there and B and all that, but when you do real well with a certain
You don't want to
product, you
change.
kind of want to stick with it.
Yeah,
And the wood that's my fuel source. That's
that's
what I
right.
use.
It's another
Uh,
seasoning.
it's another seasoning
It's another
to the
seasoning.
kit,
People don't realize it. That's right.
And I tell you what, I buy it by the pallet.
Yeah.
32 cases come on a pallet, and I have it delivered to my front doorstep about every 6 months. So Justin Vaughn, thank you so much for your wood. I run same thing for IBC and KCBS. I cook everything on my Pitmaker Sniper, my Magnum.
Right.
In IBCA, I use my chicken cooker, but in KCBS, I use the Magnum.
Right.
I cook everything on it. I do now. I kind of put my Traeger on the back of my porch trailer, and once I wrap all my meat, I stick
Goes
it in
in
the
it.
Traeger just to finish it
Just
off.
finish it. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
just an
because
oven at that point.
it's an oven, so I'm paying for that pecan. I might as well save it as long as I can because
Right.
it's pretty pricey, but I love it. I cook anywhere between 300 and 325. That
Yep.
is that's always been my temperature, and that's what I'm used to. I know where everything goes on my pit, and I'm happy with it. Again, I need to thank Phil Breeden with Lucky Charms, Aaron Leslie, Texas Oil Dust,
Yeah.
Cosmo Q Competition Products, and Smoking with Smithfield. Those are really, really big sponsors. I'm not going to call them sponsors. So Smithfield isn't a sponsor, but I signed up for the Smoking with Smithfield. So anytime you get a first place pork, rib or pork, you can send off and you can pick a chair, a table, or a cart. So, but I am part of the Smoking with Smithfield group. I did go last year before last,
Right.
New Orleans for that national championship with Smithfield Championship.
Right.
Meat Hustler, Andy Lugo. Kudos to Andy Lugo, Meat Hustler out of San Antonio, Texas. I get all my meat, chicken brisket ribs from him. Before I was just getting brisket ribs and my pork butt. Now he's doing chicken for me also.
Right.
So I know there's all kinds of other meat supply places out there, but what works for me is Andy Lugo.
Right.
I talk to him almost every day, and really, if it weren't for him, I haven't become lazy, but I really enjoy knowing that he's vetted all of the meat. He's actually opened up all the packaging. He's hand selected. He's trimmed. He's cryovac it, vacuum sealed it, and I know whenever I get a product from Andy Lugo, it's ready to go for competition.
Right. Right.
I don't have to worry about gashes, gouges, it being ugly. So, and he does that not just for me, but for everybody who buys his product.
Right.
Buys meat from him.
Right.
So he can now ship out, I believe, for about $25 a box.
Oh, that's good. So he's
What used to be, what used to be $100 to ship anything. I think it's around $25-$30 now he can ship out.
That's good.
But I go see him every other Wednesday. So twice a month I'm at his location getting my meat. South Texas Barbecue Emporium, Reba Beard. Keep in mind they're a small business. They are a barbecue supply store. They try to keep up with their inventory, but the corona really has hurt them financially and as a store. and just keep Reba Beard and her story and your thoughts and prayers as a business.
Yeah.
Small businesses are struggling
Right.
nationwide, shutting down,
Yep.
and I mean they're a half hour from my house, and I really hate to see them shut down. But when you buy rubs to restock the shelves, you just can't buy a case. You have to buy a dollar amount, right?
Right.
And it's kind of hard for small businesses when times are slow.
Right.
So, South Texas Barbecue Emporium, Andy Lugo, Aaron Leslie, Meat Hustler himself, Cosmo Q Competition Products. I got my hat,
Right.
I got my shirt. I wasn't expecting any swag from Cosmo. I came home from the cook-off this weekend on my doorstep. I had a real nice hoodie, this hat and shirt. So everybody who's part of the competition, Cosmo Q competition team, they all got swag just to
Right.
represent. So I appreciate everything Cosmo. People are asking me, hey, I see you're using a lot of Cosmo's products. What happened to pepper jelly? I love Craig Sherry to death. Became very successful using his pepper jellies. I'm not sponsored by Craig. Never was, never have been. Even though I would carry every flavor he had under the moon, and I had that big sticker on the side of my door that says Texas pepper jelly. So I go to a cook-off and people ask me, hey, I need to buy some product. I'd sell it to them,
Right.
for the same price I made it. So as my inventory went down, then I got picked up I applied
Right.
for Cosmo, my resume, and Cosmo picked me up as a team.
So you kind of had to
Pro
switch over
team.
to Cosmo. So.
So I switched over.
Right.
I'm doing as well
Right.
as I was.
You're having to work things in to make it work the same, right?
I'm having to make some adjustments,
Right.
because it's different, even though it's the same name, I mean, a habanero or apple or
Right.
cherry, not necessarily taste the same.
Don't taste the same. It's a little different.
Doesn't taste, but
right.
I'm working with it. So, but I'm very proud from what I've done to be on the Cosmo Pro team.
Right.
I don't know how many hundreds of people applied for it, and he only hand selected a few teams.
Right.
So I'm honored with that. So has barbecue been good to me? Yes, and I've been good to barbecue.
Right.
So I don't have any products. I am still in the testing phase of working on some rubs.
Right.
But I love all kinds of rubs. I've just figured out what works for my profile.
Right.
And I'll be happy to answer any question these viewers have. I can't go into full disclosure
Brian
on what I
wants
do.
to know, do you season the night before, or right before it goes on the pit?
I season before the morning of the cook-off, the morning of, and so here's my thought process. Now I know a lot of teams do season the night before, but it's a curing process on the meat. To me, it's going to go ahead and start drying out my brisket or the ribs. Granted, I may be completely wrong on this, but there is salt in these rubs, and to me, it's going to cure the meat a little bit.
Especially on pork. Especially on ribs, pork. Especially on them two.
Right. So my thought process, and I could be proven wrong, but I don't do it the night before because it's going to start curing the meat, and I don't want to bark. I never have a bark. It looks like I have a bark, but it's always soft and mushy.
Right.
And I know when you wrap it, usually that'll tend to soften up any type of hard bark. I don't want a hard bark at all.
Yeah.
I never do. So the morning of, 45 minutes to an hour before it goes in the pit, I go ahead and I season everything up then.
Yeah, that's the same thing I do. A lot of people put their stuff on, but I've always been like brisket right before I get ready to put it on. It was day one, first competition I ever did. I got a first place brisket, my very, very first competition in 2014. And I put it on literally 30 minutes before it went on the pit, and I put my rub on. I've never changed it since. I cooked one competition in 2018. I said, let me just try it overnight. I don't know. I had a sixth place the day. So I went to the next competition the very next weekend, cooked the same exact recipe. I put it on right before, I had a fifth place. So was there any difference? Probably not. My brisket has just always been just kind of consistent, so I can kind of make little tweaks, and I don't think there's the same thing. I'm like you with ribs, I think putting rub on early on ribs the night before, I think it does. Especially if you got a lot of salt in your ribs, I think it will start to do some curing on those ribs and make them more hammy tasting. Is Lee using a Cosmo in his class? No, when we filmed that, we did not. He wasn't using it that time. But as Lee perfects these, he's kind of said that he'll probably go in and make some adjustments. And that's the one good thing if you have the All Access class. These guys can always give you little updates on things that they are doing. And
yeah, so for everybody who has taken my class, I'm the only one at Barbecue Champs Academy where you cannot buy just one particular meat. I sat with Mike and said, like, when you buy one, you buy all of them. You can't buy one.
Right.
So what I'm doing to all my alumni, all those who took my class, I'm working with the Cosmo products, pretty much almost 100%.
I'm trying to perfect them.
Trying to perfect it, and you will no additional cost. You will get the updates, and I will tell you exactly. So really, you're going to get two classes. So you paid for the one, but just give me a few more weeks to keep on test running.
Well, you got to get it dialed in. That's the thing.
I do.
You got to get it dialed in first. So once you do,
right,
then
I'm not too far away from it. So and I will go in there and I'll do a live feed for all those guys who took my class.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. There's no doubt. So anyway, I tell you what, Lee, it's been a great show. We've had quite a few questions. A lot of people on. We appreciate everybody being here. And do
you want to talk about what's new and exciting in cook-off or not really?
Well, we done went over our hour now. So
okay.
I think we wanted to talk a little bit about the Champions Barbecue Alliance at Fred Robles and them, but man, we just got to talking about all this other stuff and just time's done got away from us. So, but real quick, what is your thoughts on that? Just, do you like the new scoring system that they have?
I'm 100% on board. I'm so glad. So it's for the cookers, keep in mind when IBCA, I love it to death. I love BCA. I love everything about it. Everything. That's what I cut my teeth on is IBCA. That's the only scoring system I know, or I knew. I only knew IBCA. There was nothing wrong with it, but then I ventured off and did BCA. I did KCBS, and I really like the idea of seeing your scores completely throughout the comments. So BCA I know is for the cookers. The cookers have been asking this for a while. I know IBCA is kind of transitioning over to a new scoring system.
Right.
But I was kind of hurt that IBCA quit doing the fourth meat pork. If you do qualify for the Jack or the American Royal and IBCA, you're kind of handicapped because we're not doing pork.
You don't cook. Yeah.
And those two big dance floor cook-offs, you have to do pork.
Right.
So
go ahead.
I was kind of bummed about that. So I'm so glad that the CBA is going to come around. I like the scoring system. One whole chicken, 8 slices of brisket, 8 ribs anyway in the box, and anything pork, no garnishing, 1 hour in between turn-ins. I love it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's good for the cookers, and you can see where you need to make your adjustments.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be good. We're going to reach out to Fred Robles and see if we can get Fred, maybe Roddy on the show as well. So that's something we're going to be working on. Certainly like to hear from them. Got a lot of questions from them. We got a big audience. People's going to want to get more questions, and we can kind of direct that. The announcement's been made. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts on it. So
right. Real quick, I also want to do one little shout out to Monty Page. He was on here a couple times. I saw his comments come across. He's out on the northwest coast, and where it's like 10 degrees below zero. Woo. He does have his own Mule Skinner barbecue. So go on Mule Skinner, follow. Monty cooks every day, caters. He's a good backyard pro guy. We'll call that oxymoron. Backyard good cook, also a pro. He's familiar with KCBS. So jump on Mule Skinner barbecue, follow Monty Page. He and I talk every day. So I saw him come across. I didn't mean to ignore him, but I saw him come across, He gave me some brisket rub. I sent him some brisket rub that I'm working on. He ran it, and he loved it. I have yet to run his. Sorry, Monty. I do have it, so I will practice with it, I promise.
There you go. Well, Lee, I tell you what, brother, it's been a good show. We went a little longer than normal, but you know what? It was good. We had a lot of good questions and a lot of good stuff to talk about. We appreciate everybody being here tonight. And Lee, good luck this year, man. I know you're shooting for a top 10 finish in KCBS. You've got
Yes,
your
sir.
work cut out for you against a bunch of seasoned pros that are out there. And you're going to be the rookie coming into KCBS. But one thing about you, I know how you are and your work ethic and the way that your attention to detail. And yes, you probably are a little OCD, but we'll just let that go at that. But that's
Yes,
a good
sir.
thing. So, but brother, congratulations. Thank you for being part of Barbecue Champs Academy. If anybody is looking to step up your barbecue game, that man's class is right there. Will definitely get you on the fast track into the winner's circle, as a lot of people that have taken Lee's class have already had multiple top 10 finishes and grand champions. And Lee, it's an honor to have you part of our elite group. So I appreciate you being with us, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Well, buddy, I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close it out. And we will see you, Lord willing, next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central. And we will continue to have these chats and answer questions and talk all things barbecue. And sometimes we get the state cookers on here as well. So we've got a pretty diverse show. As we always say, when we end up closing our classes out, have a lot of fun and smoke on. And we'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.